Okay, hi, my name is Genesis Cook, and this is my capstone presentation on women in the American Revolution. So let's get started. I'm interested in this topic because of my feminist ideas and the underrepresentation of women in history. My research is focused on the loyalist versus revolutionary ideas in women and why a woman would choose these paths. I think that a lot of our history focuses on the victors of this war and what the revolutionary ideas did to overcome the other side. And when focusing on the ideas of women, I think that the Loyalist Party kind of was more appealing to them, and it's worth considering in discussions of this. So Loyalist women either believed that the revolution didn't matter to them or were worried about the casualties of war most often. And this is because they were homemakers. They were not interacting with finances and culture and being taxed in the same way that men were. They were also, within their lifetime, witnesses of the French and Indian War. So they really knew the tragedy that this can bring and the pain of being a widow or losing a family member, a brother, a father, etc. Revolutionary women, on the other hand, were more concerned with the financial reasons for independence in the same way that revolutionary men were. They held a lot of the same ideas. They were also likely supporting their husbands' ideas if their husbands were soldiers or just general revolutionarily minded young men. Now, when I wrote this, I wanted to be sure that I said that I don't think that the only reason that a woman would support the American Revolution is to please their husband in some way. I think that they held these beliefs genuinely and also were influenced by the people they were around, which would mostly be their husband in this era. I think that this topic is historically important because women's ideas are often undervalued in politics, especially historically. These days, we have women in politics left, right, and center, but back in the revolutionary times in earlier America, we often dismissed women's ideas as silly or unimportant, and they are often forgotten. However, some of the greatest minds of the Revolutionary Age belonged to women, such as Sarah Joseph Hale and Judith Sargent Murray, who we were assigned to read about in class. I began this project with the intention to write about the Great Depression, which is an era that I'm more confident in my knowledge of. I've always been interested in documentaries about the Great Depression and books about the Great Depression, and I've even asked family members whose parents were victims of circumstance in the Great Depression. So, I'm very interested in it. The American Revolution would have been my second choice, and it was because it's within the scope of our class. So I had to learn a lot more. I had to draw from a lot more of my media experiences and sources in my writing here, unlike how I would with my first choice. One thing that I learned is how much the lifestyles of women changed during the war. Now, we often think of like the World War I and World War II eras as the whole kind of women in the workplace, women empowerment kind of ideas. But that's not really the origin of this. Really, the American Revolution, women were forced to take over farm work and businesses and bringing home the bread, generally, as it were, and supporting their families in the way that a traditional man would, on top of their homekeeping duties, which is really interesting to me. So thank you very much for listening. I've been Genesis Cook. You have a good day.